In today's session, Rin Ure will take us through overview of the SOC Process Framework. Rin is a Principal Security Incubation and Priority Sentinel Lead Global Black Belt with the Security Incubation Global Black Belt team. And without further ado, I'll turn it over to him. Rin, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jason. Let me share my screen here. Awesome. Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm excited for this topic today, and to just share some of the things that we're doing. And so I'm going to take a different approach and share with you, those of you that are watching this webinar. There's a chance that you may know about this content that we're going to discuss today, and that's the SOC Process Framework. As you can see here, I have up Microsoft Sentinel, and within Microsoft Sentinel, in the workbook section of the templates, there's the SOC Process Framework. Now, this is publicly available for all of our customers to be able to apply and consume and work through within their Sentinel instance. And so that's kind of what we want to do today. We want to take you a little bit through that, but then we also want to take you on a journey on what's coming, what's new, and some of the new capabilities and things that we've built into the SOC Process Framework for you to be excited about, and really kind of help you sink your teeth into some of the pieces and things that I've received feedback over the last 6-7 months around how we need to mature and grow this framework. And so without further ado, let's dive in. All right, we have the SOC Process Framework here. We're going to go ahead and click on View Workbook, and this will open up the workbook in the gallery and takes us into what the current view of this workbook looks like. Now, this workbook is really designed to be customized and edited by our customers, by you. It's designed to give you a framework, a place to start around your security operations and how to consider different processes and procedures that need to be implemented to help you deliver on the level of maturity and growth within your SOC operations. We have here a menu of items. We've got our SOC main, and we've got a lot of different content pieces for you to consume, as well as for you to modify and to update. You'll notice that we have here, welcome, to the Customer Security Operations Center. This is where you would place, your business name, your SOC name, whatever it is that you're calling it, and to update that. And then we kind of have a little bit of a help right here, where you're kind of go through and edit the workbook and remove some of these pieces by updating some of this information in here. And then each of these workbook pages are really there for you to be able to consume and update at your leisure. So that's kind of the idea for each of these pieces. So on the main section here, this is where the mission statement is. This is where we talk about the security operations, what it is that operations center is designed to do, and how they're helping their business. These bullet items are, again, a place to start. It's best practices that we put in place, but can be modified and changed per your business and per the vertical that your business is in. We are also giving you, processes and procedures by category, additional categories, and a flow. We're calling this kind of our SOC-in-a-box flow, that you can kind of see how that flow looks as you're looking through, different areas. Maybe you need to focus on shift turnover and or monitoring and triage. Maybe you need to spend a little bit of time in crisis response and callouts, or focused on use cases and modeling those use cases. Maybe it's time that you spend some time on automation and looking at logic apps, function apps, and access management, and how you're driving the automation portion of your business. Whatever the case may be, there is something for everyone within this workbook on where your business maturity may be within your SOC operations, and this workbook helps to satisfy that. On these other areas of content, we have SOC Contacts, This is again a markdown page where you can come in and update through Markdown, any of your SOC team workstations, pager contact information, general IT and emergency contacts, escalation, right, departmental, so on and so forth. So there's some of those things there. Again, a page for you to continue to update and modify that, but it's a placeholder for any of your analysts so that they can come in and immediately have a quick reference for where these individuals may live or sit within the business. On our process hierarchy, this is more for an analyst and the SOC manager to understand the 14 processes and 36 procedures that make up the SOC-in-a-box process or the process framework, right? Our hierarchy. And so we're looking at it from an analytical, operations, technological, and business processes all up, and then what those procedures are as they go up. And you can kind of see we have them color coded here with their procedures, and you can kind of see where those procedures outline and how they fit within the business structure as a whole. And so if you're focused on daily operations, you may be focused on monitoring and shift scheduling and staffing, training, daily operations, shift turnover, making sure that you're doing knowledge transfer, incident management, triage, call outs, crisis response, right? Escalations and so on and so forth. And so each one of these areas really helps to lead towards a deeper level of maturity across the board within your SOC process framework. We have roles and responsibilities. This is really looking at all of the different roles at a high level, of course, that fit within the SOC model. Now, this may look a little different for your business. It may look a little different within your operations. That's okay. It's a markdown page for you to come in and modify, update, and make any changes that you feel are needed for your business. But this also gives you a place to start, gives you a place to look at, okay, what does a director of security operations do? What are some of the day-to-day things that a manager of a SOC would handle, right? And how do they manage those analysts? How do they fit into the SOC process framework from a processes and procedures perspective? What does a level 1 analyst, level 2 analyst, level 3 analyst do as you're building out each of those tiers? And then if you are bringing in someone like a cyber intelligence analyst or a manager around incident response and an incident response analyst, maybe you're starting to segment out roles and responsibilities across what the initial SOC is doing to what incident response and incident handling are doing. Maybe you're breaking that out and adding a third layer for forensics analyst investigator, or a threat hunter and threat intelligence gatherer. Whatever the case may be, again, this is a place for you to be able to build context into this page around those roles and responsibilities so that everyone, all of the stakeholders within your business, know what those individuals do within your business and how they can partner with them to help them be successful, and they to help the business and those other individuals that may be working over in IT operations or over in some other business unit also be successful, right? So that it becomes a collaborative partnership, and that's really what we're focused on. SIM engineering, content developer, a cybersecurity data scientist, all of these roles and responsibilities are kind of carved out as a placeholder, place to start, with a responsibility chart and a RACI matrix to consider who is watching and monitoring, right? Or excuse me, who is responsible, who is accountable, who is consulted, who is informed, so on and so forth, so that you are building that collaborative model together. All right. We also have for you the incident response framework. The incident response framework really gives you a deep introspection view of how the workflow within incident response should look and feel based on our recommendations. Now, if you have an incident response framework that you're leveraging, our recommendation is that you leverage that. right? That you bring that in here and you replace what we have and make this your own, right? Again, this workbook is for you to continue to grow and to update. But if you need a place to start, if you are curious about how we recommend on operationalizing things within our security stack, namely Sentinel and XDR, all right, and our first party, security tooling, this is how you do that. You do that through the incident response framework with this type of workflow, so that you can see watching and monitoring as we're starting that process, looking through the investigation portion of that and determining scope of impact. Can I work to resolve it, or do I need to escalate that to someone within my incident response team? If I do escalate that, right, then the incident response team needs to make some determinations around containment and mitigation methods. So what are those processes? Are they defined? Is everyone in understanding on how those processes work and how they can collaborate through that process, right? And so just because an analyst escalates to an incident response person on the IR team doesn't mean that they step away. Maybe they have additional context that they can provide during the investigation, right? Notifying external teams of assets, identities, and other things. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, but could you zoom in just a little bit more? We got a request from the audience.
Yeah, I can certainly zoom in. Does that help? Is that better?
Yeah, looks great. Thank you.
All right. Hopefully that's all right. Good deal. So yeah, all of these pieces really kind of help shape the way that you're thinking and thinking about the flow, thinking about how these processes are working together with, people on the ground as well as within the tooling. And that's really the idea, is to work through that. And then once you understand what is part of the mobilize and assess and contain and the determination that goes into those processes, you can step into remediate and recover, preparing a remediation plan, conducting testing and Q&A, partnering with external teams and deploying around a team or a plan that's been built out and that can be executed, and then restoring normal operations. And so thinking through all of this is a lot of work. It's a lot of work to have to understand all of the different components and parts that fit into this collaborative effort, from identity personnel that are admins within your identity infrastructure, to those that are working in IT operations, to those that own assets and services that may run your business, right, to those that are monitoring all of those assets from the SOC perspective. And so you bring these pieces together and you partner together as a collaborative team to really make sure that everyone understands each of these steps through things like tabletop exercises, working with red teams and blue teams and purple teams to drive the right type of response that you want, so that you're prepared when you do go to incidents, right? It's always important that you're stepping through and understanding how these processes come to bear. All right, I'm going to back up just a little bit. What we've done here then is we've taken this incident response framework and we've broken it up into decision matrix. We have broken it also into scope and definitions, severity categories for you to consider around critical and major, moderate, minor. And then once you have all of that, we then apply that down into the methodology of incident response around incident preparation. And then we start to walk through each of these different phases. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, but just know that we're really thinking about you, your business, and how you can consider each of these areas. And so again, if you have something already that you're doing around each of these different areas or this content, our recommendation is that you're leveraging that and that you're working with your stakeholders to make sure that you're in all of your business units that you're partnering with. They know what these phases are. They know how you're deploying that, and you're working with them to kick off an investigation, to do escalation, to do crisis response, to do all of these different pieces as you're working through an investigation phase, so on and so forth. However, if you don't, right, if you don't have those pieces or that framework, that groundwork, our recommendation is that you take what we've given you here and you use it as a place to start, as a foundational place to start. So that's what we've done, is we've broken it down for you, our customers and our partners, to think about each of these different sections in a lot of context. There's a lot of detail in here, including looking at service level objectives. I know there's SLOs or SLAs, and we kind of go back and forth. In this particular instance, and it really doesn't matter, you could change it to an SLA. In here, we've called it an SLO, a service level objective, because it's an objective. You're trying to meet an objective within this framework. And so that's why we're using that. But we kind of give you some examples of what a remediation SLO looks like, or a notification SLO, and then dependencies within the organization. And then we break down those additional incident response phases for you, so that you have an idea around mobilize, assess and contain, looking at the technical root cause of an incident and getting down to that deep level analysis, focused on remediation and recovery, what that might look like, some scenarios and options to consider with general recovery guidance from us. And then my favorite, and something that every customer should be thinking about, is that postmortem, lessons learned. What went well? What didn't go well? What can you learn from it? What gaps did you identify? What risk did you identify? Right? And so, as you're looking at it from a people, process, business technology perspective across those pillars, you should be asking yourself along those pillars, what went well, and where are those gaps and risks, and how do you shore them up? Do you need some controls in place? Maybe something within the technology, you need some controls and then monitoring on top of those controls. Maybe there was data missing. Maybe something should have fired, there was data, but maybe there wasn't a detection that was built on top of that data yet. Whatever the case may be, there's always opportunities for us to learn and grow, and to take on and wear that growth mindset, so that we can truly help our business evolve and mature as we're reducing risk. It's all about reducing risk, right? And then additional recommendations kind of at the end. So this is kind of at a deep core. Those are those first really few pages. When we get into the analytical processes, procedures, business processes and procedures, operational and technological processes and procedures, you'll notice that we have here kind of a table of contents and high level process name and procedures underneath for you to consider. So as you click on this, it loads these pages, and we're going to give you a lot more content to dive into around each of these different processes and procedures. And this is by design. It's to really help you think about incident triage and the workflow narrative. It's to think about, how do I do incident analysis? Or looking at information fusion in a way that is taking incidents that are presented to me and applying knowledge, contextual knowledge that I have around that data. How do I use a focused monitoring mentality or methodology? What does that look like? And then as we're building out SOC use cases that fit all of these, right? That's how we layer it. We layer it on from that perspective. And then we dive into like host analysis process, and then looking at data exploration under the subtle event process. So some of those pieces there. And I'm not going to dive into each of those, but you can kind of see that, each page we break this out for you. We even give you incident annotation stages by tagging. This is another operational piece we highly recommend that you're taking advantage of within Sentinel. Sentinel gives you the ability to annotate by stages within tagging and tagging incidents and applying a tagged approach. So we're kind of calling out what those tags may be. Again, this is a recommendation. If you feel that there are better ways to call these tags out, different nomenclature that you want to use, by all means, please come into this section of the workbook, update the markdown, and apply your business methodology within this portion of it. But we highly recommend that you're leveraging that, because then you can really start to set the stage for your SOC analysts as they're moving from annotation stage to annotation stage within their tagging. So looking at things that are actionable, things that are under investigation, things that pose no threat or no further action, things that are open, or things that you're adding to an incident, things that may be closed under a false positive or remediated, or things that you need to escalate to incident response, right? As you're applying a role-based model access through a zero trust framework, and you're bringing in individuals that are partnering with your SOC from the incident response team, right? They may also have access to Sentinel portal and can then filter based on things that are escalated to them. Take all of the contents and the goodness that you've built into that investigation and within that incident in the incident blade of Sentinel, and then take that to be able to go deeper within the investigation from their perspective, their knowledge, and their expertise. That's really what this is about. It's about bringing that cohesive collaboration together in a way that operationalizes the tool for Sentinel and ease of use across the board within your architecture of your people. All right, enough on that. Kind of give you a little taste of just some of the pieces in here that we have for you on that. Each of these are kind of broken out in this way for you to kind of consider. As we really are breaking out each of these different areas and allowing you to kind of sink your teeth into some of these processes and procedures. If there are things that you feel need to be updated, again, this is a workbook for you to consider modifying and bringing in things that you may already have in place. And that's really by design, right? Because there's a lot of markdown in here for you to be able to update and edit and drive towards that type of efficacy that is important for your business. All right. The last couple of pages that I kind of want to focus on, we have some SOC tools and resources. This is going to continue to grow. I'm excited about this, but we're giving you live links that you can come in here as an analyst, look at, hey, if I need, details around IPv4 subnetting and CIDR notation, or maybe I need common internet ports. Maybe I need things around Linux networking and general commands, intrusion analysis, looking at a discovery guide for Linux. Maybe I need some additional security guides on different tooling that I have within my business, and maybe there are tooling that you have that's not part of this. By all means, please come into this section of the workbook and add to this tooling. So it's to make your analysts better. It's a central place, a repository of knowledge that they can come in and take advantage of the tooling and capabilities that are here without having to go anywhere, right? We're trying to really drive that single pane of glass and giving the SOC operations the ability to pivot within the workbook and deliver on the level of excellence that they need to mature and to drive forward. So there's a lot of stuff within here. We have some incident actions. I'm going to get into this a little bit. We have a counterpart to this workbook, and the counterpart to this workbook is super cool. It is a playbook that is called Get SOC Actions, and that playbook can be downloaded and brought in. I do believe it is now synced into the Sentinel gallery through the automation portal and the playbooks portal within automation. So you should be able to see that there, and and then bring that in. It does tie into a watch list. The watch list is on our our Sentinel GitHub repo so that you can go pull that down and leverage that. And then what we've done is we're kind of giving you just some SOC actions to consider, things to look at, on ways that we're thinking about it. But that watch list contains a lot of this knowledge in a better formatted way for the playbook to be able to take advantage of and to deliver on the type of actions that you want your analysts to take when a rule fires, right? So that they're not left scrambling. And the SOC manager, the analyst, maybe a tier 2, tier 3 analyst, some SOC engineers are all partnering together to build out this content, these use cases, and the type of recommended actions based on asset owners' recommended actions, or someone within the business that owns that asset or that service, keys to the kingdom, or areas of focus that you want to continue to deliver on. That's really what this is for. Is it's to prescriptive kind of build some of that out for your tier 1 analysts, so that you're not removing completely the human side of SOC incident response. Last but not least, we have kind of here our learning role-based training against security threats on Azure. This is a 25-minute module, eight units long. Then we get into cloud native security operations within Sentinel. I need to update this now. It's Microsoft. Right, with badges, and then how long this takes, with links directly to them, so that you're not guessing. You can go click on this one, it immediately loads that portion of the training module. You can click start and dive right in. So we've linked all of that together for you, including additional learning modules around parts 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of the SE 200 to help you advance your knowledge around Custo query language, or how to configure Azure Sentinel environment, connecting logs, so on and so forth. So if there are areas that you want your analysts to be able to dive into, or you need content for an engineer, right, or other type of components that fit into the all-up security best practices, this is where you're going to find that content. You'll find that here within the training portal. All right, this is a lot, and I'm excited because now we're going to pivot to what's coming, and you're going to see a whole new workbook. You're going to see a whole new look and feel of what this is going to take on. And so, without further ado, this is the new workbook, and I'm excited to show you this because it's taken us a few months to build out some of these new capabilities and to work through some of the challenges that we faced as we were incorporating content and feature sets and just capabilities that our technology within Workbooks offers us. And there's a myriad of opportunities to continue to grow and build out in the workbook space. But this is just so exciting for us to show you this, because we're going to take a whole new approach. And this whole new approach now takes all of that goodness that we just talked about, and we're going to expand it 100-fold by building on maturity and planning and a lot of this other type of features that you, our customers and partners, have been asking for. So you're going to notice right up here at the top, and I'm going to kind of zoom out just a little bit because I want to make sure you can see this in its entirety. We have here a SOC CMMI organizational all-up score with a trend over time, right? So if there isn't any movement on these areas of people, technology, services, and process, right, that trend may go up, it may go down, so on and so forth. But this trend always is going to stay at the top. Doesn't matter what I click on over here, you're going to see this trend is going to be there to remind the SOC manager, to remind the SOC engineers, the CISO, whoever, this is where your maturity is currently within your SOC operations. And these are the areas that you need to focus on and to drive towards that maturity. How do we do that? We do that through the SOC capability maturity model. It's an integrated model where you are looking at initial, managed, and defined. Yes, quantitative manage and optimizing are are great, but that all coveted defined is where the processes are well defined, everything is understood, deployed, and executed across your entire organization. Processes, standards, procedures, and tools are all well defined at the organizational level, and everything is project allowed and monitored and maintained, right? That's really what the goal is. It's a goal to be able to get to that defined where we know the process standardization and we have stakeholder, all tied into that, all collaborating together as a cohesive business or an organizational unit across the entire organization or company. We've broken it down within business, people, process, services, technology, with each of their subcomponent categories. And then you have your total SOC score, weight, with your percent complete. And then out of that score, what we do is we have some really cool mathematics that is breaking out the CMMI score so that you can kind of see what that score is. And then you can see where you are in the, on that stair step, right? Am I initial? Am I managed? Am I defined? Where am I at as I'm continuing to drive towards, that scoring? And so that's kind of the idea. So you can kind of see what's going on with, across the board. This is exciting. This is really exciting. It's a new feature, new capability. And within that, we also give you the ability to update your score on the fly, right? So we're building capabilities directly into the workbook. So now you can see, hey, here's my SOC maturity assessment. It's a watch list. That's what we're using. We're passing the value from here to here. I've got filtering built in. So now I don't have to go figure out what area I want to work on. I want to work on reporting today. This is an area I want to focus on. And then we've broken it down by number so you can filter it even more, right? If you're working on subsection 336, you could go focus on, 1 through 8 of 336. Or if you're focused on like 337, you can go focus on that. But now you can go search for that. So maybe we do like 336. And we're going in and we're looking at, and so now we only have, a few here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we come in and we can answer those questions. Do we provide KPI reports? And then here's an example. KPI reports are used to measure service performance. What does those look like? Do we have those? Do we provide trend reporting or a newsletter or a digest? Do we have incident reporting? Reports created to provide insight into incidents that can also be part of your incident management process and procedure, right? So now you can see how we've layered on the SOC maturity to the process framework that I just walked you through. And now, I can come in here and choose a score. I can say, well, this right now it's 0. So we're going to update this. I'm going to say it's initial. And I'm going to click that initial. I've got some really cool ARM action here. I'm working on updating this so that it's a little bit more pretty, but we can run our ARM action and it's put, right? So now we have that. It's there. It was successfully updated to the watch list. So now in time, as I refresh this and it refreshes this, we're going to see that score show up, from the reporting side of the business that we were just working on, from that process reporting. And so it'll take a minute or two, but that'll eventually update. So we're giving you the ability to stay within the workbook framework while updating and showcasing how you're moving your business maturity forward. This is key. This is key to being able to drive the right operations, being able to drive the right KPIs, and showing the business that you're moving maturity forward in a progressive manner. And so we've had a lot of recommendations to build this type of model into this workbook. You'll also notice here, this is kind of fun. This is our security person, our blue hat. And our security person here it's kind of our 8-bit security person. So I come from a long line of 8-bit gamers back in the day. Maybe I'm dating myself slightly. but we wanted to do something fun, and so this is kind of our blue hat person. So you can kind of see their hats and their face, right, and their, you know, their person. In here, we've also built in some additional fly apps, some additional workbook capabilities for any of you that want to, where you're starting out small. Maybe you're starting out with a two-man person team that's not even full-time into SOC operations. Maybe they are part-time. And what do they do? Where did they start? We're giving you a framework to help you understand the growth path of your security operations. We're looking at that SOC Rapid Modernization Plan. We're calling it RAMP, right? So that you can streamline your process to common attacks. You can look at process toil and reduce that. You can look at cloud integration and refine your security operations all up. As you're looking at that and integrating these new capabilities within the SOC Process Framework itself. So each of these take you on a journey, part-time, small, medium, large, but it's all here for you to open and stay within the framework of the workbook and understand how to move within the bounds of that maturity that is so critically important to our business. Another key area that we have focused on is incident response planning. So this is another area where, again, we're going to give you a way to be able to update incident response planning. All we have to do is just come in here and change our watch list because we want to do incident response planning. Again, we've given you filters, things maybe like we want to focus on incident responders, and we've got some, you know, things to complete. Incident responders come with different techniques and approaches, including, dead box analysis, big data analysis, and the ability to produce incremental results. So we're looking at that and then asking you, what are you doing? And what results will be produced and when? Right? So getting those wheels turning around your incident response planning, as well as how it meshes into the overall SOC maturity score. And then you can start moving each of these pieces forward, because now we're giving you the questions that you should be asking, areas that you should be focusing on around these areas, and making it your own. And that's really kind of exciting that we're building this and bringing this all together for you. Another area that of interest that we've been asked to really focus on is how do we bring the better together story across the Microsoft portfolio of products, across our XDR and Sentinel and that better together story. Well, without further ado, we built that into this workbook as well. So now you have the integration between Sentinel and the 365 Defender all up into your security operations. We're building you Defender planning, Defender readiness, looking at it from an integration readiness assessment using Zero Trust Framework, building out what that Zero Trust Framework looks like, and incorporating the things that you see through docs.microsoft.com in areas where we're focused on these different products and integrating and bringing them together. We are also being very mindful of a catalog of services that every SOC should be considering. They should be looking at how to do intrusion in possibly malware analysis, if it's applicable, attribution, reverse engineering where applicable, and diving into threat intelligence, analytics, and hunting investigation, so on and so forth. And so, as you can kind of see here by these bullet points, these service of category, or these categories, are there for you to consider and really drive towards, and it may be applicable to your business unit and the vertical and industry that your business is in. It may not be, and that's okay, right? And so some of these pieces may need to be taken out because that's not applicable to how you're going to run your SOC. But again, these are placeholders. These are things for you to consider, certainly areas for you to start, and how we're integrating our tooling together across the board. We're also giving you an opportunity to think about roles and responsibilities not only from the roles and responsibilities that I've shown you in the RACI charts, but how that merges into something like our XDR and Sentinel together story, and what that might look like across the SOC team and certain tasks that may fit within that oversight for XDR and Sentinel, threat analytics, threat monitoring, engineering and SecOps, and even computer security incident response, right? And so we're trying to be very mindful of what that might look like, business to business, and helping you kind of step through some of those areas, developing and formalizing like use cases and what the processes may look like, who to consider to talk to, where to think about from different phishing variants, and so on. So we've given you a lot of screenshots, a lot of things to consume and to take in, with a lot of links and data, again, back to docs.microsoft.com. But we want it in a central place. And so that's where we're consuming all of this information and bringing it to you within the portal, right? Again, that single pane of glass. So we're trying to really help you guys see the benefits. We're building out functionality and capabilities within the workbook that allows you to pivot and to action and to make decisions all within the workbook without having to leave. All right. So this is some of the new and exciting stuff that we've built. Some of the other things, I mean, this, the process hierarchy hasn't changed. Roles and responsibilities hasn't changed. The framework hasn't changed. All of this content is still there. We're just building on top of what I showed you earlier. What we're doing now, though, is we're adding to SOC use cases, data sources. So there's some new content in here that we've added. There is some new content on a war room and integrating teams within the experience of Sentinel. We've also built out some of the capabilities deeper into crisis response and incident automation with Shift for Teams. So a lot of Teams integration has now been brought in for you to consume and to leverage, and how we're thinking about interacting with the Teams capability that lives within the incident actions section of Sentinel. So you're not having to guess now, how do I leverage this? What is best practice? Why should I spin this up? Why does this matter to me? We've carved that off into its own section for you to consume and be able to apply within your SOC operations. That's pretty much it. I mean, there's a lot of new content, a lot of new updates here. Also, the guide that you saw earlier, we did put it into a pill form. So if you don't want to see it, it's not there. Once you know what you need to do to make edits and changes within the workbook, you can hide that guide and really make this workbook visually appealing, so that you're coming in here and you're changing and doing the things that you need to do. So that's pretty much everything I have to show you. I guess, team, we can take some questions now if that's okay. But I think that pretty much kind of concludes the lion's share of the content and just a lot of the new changes and capabilities that we're bringing to you. So yeah, with that, I'll turn this back over to you, Jason.
Perfect, thank you. We do have a few questions here. The first one is, what are our specific incident response playbooks, for example, ransomware, identity theft, etc., also part of the framework?
There are several playbooks within the Defender. Let's see here. We've got, and we call out several of them here, and then we also give you a checklist. And then under the SOC Investigations, right, we've got some phishing, password spray app. This will continue to grow as we're developing these with Mystic, and we're developing these with DSRE and other partners within Microsoft. These will continue to grow, and we'll continue to update those here. There's a lot that's out there. and a lot that we're bringing you from the incident actions to the different type of steps that you should take as an incident responder that's built in here. I don't know that we're covering all of that, but it's I don't know that we need to either. It's more about helping you understand what the framework should look like, questions that you should be asking to dive into that, right, with your business and with those resources and personnel that is partnering with you to help you get to a resolve. So it's more of a framework. If there are areas that we need to improve on that, please, feedback is always welcome.
Great. The next question is, I know you touched on this a bit earlier, but what are the Microsoft Cloud products covered in your SOC Process Framework?
Yes. So we cover, let me see if I can go pull it. We cover most of the Defender stack. Let's see, it's not that one. It is, I don't think it's under roles. Nope, it's under development TED. I think. Well, we cover the M365 stack. We cover, so that's going to be Defender for Identity, that's Defender for Endpoint, that's Defender for Cloud, that's Defender for IoT, and we're actually partnering to build in a SOC incident response and planning capabilities from the Defender for IoT team. So I'm actually working with them right now. So that's hopefully going to be landing very soon. And that's exciting because that will become part of that as well. So all of that Defender stack, pieces from the Zero Trust framework on the identity side, and then Azure Sentinel. So I would probably start there.
Great. The next question is, since you are going to keep updating the framework, what is the best way to integrate the changes you made to our copy, which got customized in the meantime? Any merging functionality available?
There is new capability here where I can step in and edit, and under edit you now have a cogs, and in here you can see versions and have all of those different versions, and then under those versions, right, you can highlight a version. You can even restore or view. So there is that portion of it. But then also we as Microsoft, we're going to, when we update this, we're going to push out a new version. My recommendation is that when you save it, right, give it a name that you're comfortable with, so that if you need to save another version, you can, right? If you're worried about overwriting things that you've changed or that you've made, you can certainly, save a copy off and then bring those pieces in that you need to bring in if that's applicable to you. So there's a couple ways to do that, but we now have version control that's built into the workbook, so that you can see where those are and restore those versions, along with bringing in any updates that we bring to you from the Microsoft side.
Great. The next question is, would it make sense to have this workbook and Defender for Cloud workbooks to make it available to a larger audience than just the Sentinel team?
I think so. We are working with organizations to do just that, and to be able to deliver it at a wider scale. So I think so, absolutely.
Great. And I know you touched on this too, but just to clarify for the audience, when will version 1.3 be available?
The hope is to have it out next week, right? Is to get that publication out, and then to push that. So that's the goal. That's what we're shooting for. But we also recognize that that's right before the holidays.
Great. And the last question is, are you going to organize an exam that checks all of this information? It would be great if we can put it in requirements for SOC team members.
Read that question to me one more time, Jason.
Yeah. Are you going to organize an exam that checks all of this information? It would be great if we can put it in requirements for SOC team members.
Organize an exam. I got it. Okay. So kind of like a certification.
Right.
We have talked about it, and I don't know that we've landed on an answer yet. But if that is of interest, I would certainly love to know through, if those of you that are listening would share that, if that is of interest, let me know, because I think the more interest we have, the better chances of it turning it into an exam, and the possibility of that would be, likely.
Great. Well, I think that's all the questions we had. Val, did you want to go ahead with your announcement?
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you, Rin. This was awesome. We're getting instant feedbacks all over the place, so thank you so much. So what I wanted to, I already posted, in fact, it's a, so next week we have another Microsoft Sentinel webinar that is on a notebook. Pete Bryan is the presenter, and he has created a phenomenal blog in 4 parts. That's the link for that. So it's a great blog because it covers all knowledge levels for the notebooks, and also a preparation for the next week webinar. So that's all I had.
Great, thank you. Well, I would like to thank Rin for being our guest today and for an absolutely excellent presentation. And thank you to the rest of the team who helped answer questions. At the same time, I would like to remind the listeners that the best way to ensure you don't miss any future webinars or major announcements is to visit our landing page at aka.ms/securitycommunity. And while there, you'll find easy ways to navigate and find the resources and learning content relevant to our security products and their communities. A good start would be browsing our bite-sized product videos, ninja trainings, recordings of past webinars, GitHub communities, and more. We love to hear your feedback on how we can improve these webinars. Please take a minute submitting your webinar feedback at aka.ms/security webinar feedback. Thank you and see you next time. Goodbye.